you go.
Yeah. Oh, get out of my way.
When you can come out and catch lots of these, you have lots of people that'll come over and do that. You know when the good old days of fishing are? You and I are enjoying it right now.
I'm Dan Eigen, full-time guide and avid outdoorsman. These days, it's easy to get stuck inside in a virtual world. But the real world is outside. So I challenge you to put your instincts to work, making real memories with real people. Because we love it outdoors. As a longtime fishing guide, I'm very blessed to spend my time and make my living on some of the most beautiful freshwater lakes in the country. But because I make my living catching fish, how good the fishing is and how healthy fish populations are is pretty darn important to me. Of course, that goes for all of us who love it on the water. So what's the real story? Just how does fishing today stack up against the past?
Wow! Whoa!
To try to find some answers, I'm headed to Minnesota's famous walleye factory, Mille Lacs Lake, where the walleye fishing is serious business. And I'll be joined by a guy that has lived the recent history of freshwater fishing from the day he was born. Today I have the pleasure of sharing the boat with James Lindner of the famed Lindner family. And we're out here today on Lake Mille Lacs, Minnesota's crown jewel. And we're gonna hopefully catch some walleyes, but we're also gonna talk about the state of fishing.
You know what, Dan? Realistically, you hear people talk about the good old days of fishing. You know when the good old days of fishing are? You and I are enjoying it right now, and we're gonna enjoy it today, but we're also gonna look at different things that enhances the quality of our fishing today, which is the equipment. Tackle, rods, reels, and electronic. We have phenomenal tools to make us a lot more effective on the water.
Absolutely.
You ready to rumble?
Oh, am I ever.
All right.
Let's get after them. At over 132,000 acres, mighty Mille Lacs is one of the largest natural lakes in North America. In addition to hundreds of miles of typical shoreline reefs and weed beds, Mille Lacs features a unique maze of oddly shaped mud structures, or flats, throughout the northern half of the main lake basin. These mostly featureless humps attract baitfish that feed on emerging bloodworms and mayflies, among other things. And those baitfish turn a Mille Lacs mudflat into a walleye buffet, especially in midsummer.
There might be a whole bunch of fish right in here, and there's not very many people fishing it. It doesn't appear. Boy, there's fish loaded along the whole edge of this thing. Holy mackerel. You know, you were talking about the quality of fishing today, and probably one of the biggest things that has really sped the fish finding process is mapping programs like we have here. It's just amazing how we can drive out here, pulled up immediately. You drive along the edge and you immediately see fish. Those are walleyes. They're at the base of the drop.
And they're riding up a little higher.
Off the bottom. That's a good sign. When those guys are 2-3 feet off the bottom, those are usually biters. If the fish are really pinned tight to the bottom, sometimes they can be a little bit harder to catch. What I'm doing is the bait isn't on the bottom. What I'm trying to do is just drop the sinker to the bottom. I lift it about a foot off the bottom and just hang on it.
A foot, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I might have just I just got
bit. I just came over one.
I think I did, yeah.
You got one.
It just was a hanger.
Yeah.
You know what? A lot of times if you just feel something different, it's a fish. So I'm gonna reel down to it and check to see if anybody's home here. And someone is home. Yeah! Yeah! I love this. And you know what I love most, James?
What's that?
That you're running the boat. Here we go.
Come here, buddy. Good starter fish. Come here, buddy.
It's what, 18 or 19 incher? Yeah!
There you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Look at it, biting that fray bill. James made a pretty cool adjustment here. We were moving pretty fast, but then we realized, you know what? Hey, we're under some cold front conditions. So now we slowed things down. and the first pass, we whacked that one right there, probably about a 19-incher. James, you've spent 40 years out here on Lake Mille Lacs. What are some of the changes that you've seen over the years?
I can honestly say, since I've lived in the state of Minnesota, probably the last, as you said, 40 years and been fishing, many species of fishing today is better than it ever has been. We're on Mille Lacs Lake. This is a phenomenal walleye fishery. It's a phenomenal smallmouth bass fishery. It's a phenomenal muskie fishery. 20 years ago, there was no muskies in this lake. Today, it's one of North America's best muskie fisheries. And you know, why do we have the quality of the fisheries we have today? Is because of a smarter management philosophy. The Department of Natural Resources has a far better handle on how to manage these fisheries. You know, and I'm the last one in the world that needs more laws, rules and regulations, but you know, anglers and the equipment we have in short order would vacuum these fisheries clean if we didn't have these stocking
Absolutely.
programs and these management philosophy in order.
As Jim and I worked around our first spot, it soon became clear that while we could see that there were fish beneath us, they just weren't in a feeding mood.
Here, walleye, 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 bite!
There was a time when on a lake of this size, with small boats and motors, you simply couldn't move around too much, not safely anyway. And finding one specific spot in over 200 square miles of water would be absurd. That's not the case anymore. And to be successful, you've got to be willing to make a move.
You know, what's really changed these mapping programs is these chips that go inside here. You have Lake Masters and Navionics chips that work in both in Humminbird and Lowrance. And what it is a really high resolution. You can see when I zoom in here, it can be very detailed depth contours. It really changed the face of fishing today, I think so. In the last 10 years, there's nothing like it. I like this when it gets calm like this out on these mud flats like this. It's so much easier for boat control. This is more or less a classic sort of Lindy rig. Actually, my father and uncle really promoted the Lindy rig years and years ago. This is actually a VMC, sort of a modified Lindy rig, and what this is a fluorocarbon leader. This is like 8-pound test fluorocarbon, about 8 feet long. And then we actually have a switch-it sinker on here, sliding sinker. And the reason for this is I can actually change weights. If I go change spots and I want to, you know, go to a lighter or heavier sinker, I can quickly change it out. But this is the classic system to catch walleyes all over the country.
Should I catch a big one?
Yeah, we're coming across him right now. He's sniffing your leech right now.
Oh, you're putting him over me, huh? You're putting me over him? Okay, good. I just got whacked. Okay, so give her about 10 seconds, reel down to it, and drill it. Here we go. Hopefully it's one of those tanker Mille Lacs walleyes here. Reel down till you feel it, you know, really load her up here. And it is about there. There we go. Yeah! Jimmy's on too. Look at this, double city.
This is quality fisheries management is what you're seeing here. This is what it's about. Look at that.
Hey, is anybody gonna get the net for?
Well, somebody has to. I'll get on this. I'll get my.
Here, let's get them both in the net at the same time. Look at this one here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. They're twins.
Come here, buddy.
Rod tips crossed.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, baby. Yeah. Look at that.
There you go.
Oh. Hey, thanks, guide.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure. Do you know what? Look at
maybe
that.
I should take your fish off and you take mine.
We did a pretty good job there because we didn't get hung up. Look at that. That guy there. I didn't even.
Here.
I didn't even let him have it. You know, he hit it and just set the hook immediately.
Give me knuckles too.
Nice. We'll get her back in the water. There's more where that came from.
Look at that.
Come here, buddy. Back to
Beautiful walleye.
Back to the depths. Yeah, there's a lot of different places for fish to hide in this lake. As we were saying, there's fish in the weeds, there's fish on rocks, there's fish on these mud flats. You as an angler, to be successful, you have to be willing to move around, use the tools that you have, use the baits in your tackle box to the maximum potential.
Experimentation is the key, no matter what species of fish you're after or what lake you plan to find them in. But when it comes to walleyes, no one is more innovative than the full-time tournament professional. From open water trolling to massive Great Lakes, to jigs tipped with plastics, and even bass-style spinnerbaits in flooded timber, all have produced big paydays on the National Guard FLW Walleye Tour.
You know, it's interesting to me how these techniques and presentation strategies have evolved. You know, where this actually years ago, this was the main system that those guys would use in tournament fishing and Mille Lacs Lake, because a lot of the professional walleye tournaments actually started right here. Mm-hmm. But since that point in time, they've changed a lot. You know, you have soft baits, you have crankbait trolling, you have shallow water float fishing systems. But anglers, to be really effective, and if you fish a real wide variety of waters, or even in this lake here, there's a wide variety of different techniques to catch walleyes.
On this day, innovation isn't quite as important as location, and in this particular spot, everyone is getting in on the action.
You know, you can see what's going on here is interesting. When we first got out, we were on a spot with probably a comparable number of boats, but nobody was catching anything. We pulled out here on a different underwater structure, and the activity level is completely different. We pulled out here, and as soon as we pulled out here, we got a number of bites. But it goes to show you, when you're out on the water, you have to be willing to move around to find the active fish. You know, well, we do have a lot of phenomenal things going on in our fisheries. There are some concerns that all of us, the user groups who use these natural resources, have to be concerned with. And the number one thing is unquestionably invasive species.
I was able to work with the Minnesota DNR this year on an aquatic invasive species documentary. Let's take a look at some of the threats.
What do we mean by aquatic invasive species? They're plants and animals that live in the water and are not native to Minnesota. When these species are accidentally or intentionally transplanted into our waters, they can upset the ecological balance. No matter how they get here, the environmental consequences can be severe. For example, creatures like zebra and quagga mussels, round gobies, and spiny water fleas were transported in the late 1980s from the Black and Caspian Seas of Europe and Asia. They came in the ballast tanks of ocean-going ships and were unwittingly discharged from ballast water into the Great Lakes. From there, they spread to inland waters. New species of carp brought here from Asia are creating headaches both above and below the water's surface. And Eurasian water milfoil grows in the mats on the water's surface that interfere with swimming and boating and diminish the visual appeal of our lakes. These seemingly unrelated species share a common and disturbing trait. In our ecosystem, they lack disease and predator controls, so these non-native species reproduce and spread at an amazing pace. The consequence is that they compete with native species for food and habitat. In turn, this can dramatically affect commercial, tourism, and recreational uses of Minnesota's well-known lakes and rivers.
Oh, there's another one, Dan, right there. Ooh. Ooh.
Did he bite you?
No, not yet, but I see them on your electronics. That's one thing, these electronics these days are so accurate, and you see those fish, boy, you get really tuned up. Like we just came across 2 or 3 of them right there, and somebody might get bit here shortly. Oop, there he is.
Nice.
One of the biggest concerns on Mille Lacs Lake as far as invasive species is zebra mussels, and what zebra mussels do is vacuum out the bottom of the food chain. And what I mean by that is the phytoplanktons and zooplanktons. And what that does is actually hurt prey species. You know, that's the food for the prey species, the perch and the shiners, as well as for the small game fish such as smallmouth bass and walleye. Realistically, Department of Natural Resource fisheries managers don't know what the long-term effects of these zebra mussels are in these systems. But the thing is, we know one thing, we don't want them transported to other lakes, which is really important for us as anglers. Come here, buddy.
And it's a pretty simple fix too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's as simple as clean, drain, and dry. And everybody can do that. Everybody can remember that.
Yeah. The thing is, it's interesting on how light tappers those
That's what this
guys
was.
are.
I mean, I just saw my rod tip.
No, this one was that same thing.
That's
Boy,
a big
it was
fish.
a real,
Big fish.
real light tapper.
Look at that hog. That's
Yeah,
bigger.
that's a big
oh,
one
get
there.
out of my way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
is a hog.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a 9-pound walleye
Yeah.
right there. Look at that.
I know. The last couple of years, I've caught some real
Nice.
brutes in here.
Nice. Look at that.
There you go.
That's your fish.
Thank you, sir.
handle that.
Look
Baby.
at that thing.
Nice.
Gorgeous. Beautiful walleye. And the thing is, this is relatively common, believe it or not. You know what I mean? That's what the amazing thing is when you look at the fisheries we have today.
Another beautiful example of why we love it on Mille Lacs Lake, and sharing the day with a fishing legend like James, well, that's just icing on the cake. But I have a feeling we're not done yet.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about the use of electronics today, you know, specifically mapping and depth finder combination units are really invaluable tools to really speed the fish finding process. But once you get out there and you're fishing on top of the fish, boat control becomes the essence. You have a rear mount like this Vantage, Minn Kota Vantage, which is really a tremendous back trolling motor for walleyes. I also have a bow mount on this particular boat that I use a lot for largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, and muskie fishing situations. I also have, this is sort of a unique item that's relatively new. It's a shallow water anchor talon, and it just has a spike that sticks down, and I can anchor instantaneously in 8 foot of water if I deem fit. I find a good spot, I drop the talon, and it just fixes the boat right in that exact position. I use that a lot for bass fishing. So there is a lot to fishing today. It's, you know, it's as complex or as simple as you want to make it, but I can tell you one thing, there's really some tremendous tools for boat control.
Both James and I are live bait rigging right here, and James is catching fish, you know, he's got about a 6 foot snell with a plain hook or a red hook, but you know, this kind of a system right here is really easy to modify. As you can see, we've got the little twirly bird there, a couple of beads. You can add different color hooks, you know, just to find out what's going to trigger these fish. And I'd been, you know, rigging the plain hook for a while, and I just kind of got tired of that. So I'm going to put this baby down there, and I'm thinking that the walleyes are going to eat that immediately. We'll see. Yeah, buddy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. There you go.
That's got some beef, huh?
Yeah, I know when you said.
Can I have the rod?
Yeah. You've caught
Oh,
enough
yeah.
walleyes this year. I've been
like
fishing.
that.
I've been fishing for bass and catfish and
love
alternate species. Yo, this guy here, this guy here.
Is it the boss?
Nah, you never know with these guys here. They're, you know what I mean? They can be somewhat deceiving. You know what? He also hit it really delicately.
Live.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, there.
that.
Yeah, come here, buddy.
Yeah,
that's a good
beauty.
one.
Look
there.
at the size of that. Dip
Well,
quite in there.
well,
Yeah,
well.
not ready?
No,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think so. He said, I've had enough
I
of you.
love it. I love it. Okay, she's ready now.
Oh, there you go, sir. Thank you.
Look at that.
There you go. Here, let me get her out of there real quick.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah, look at that.
Nice work.
Boy, it really is. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's you come out, you know, when they initially,
Let me see that.
you know, put these slot limits on, there was a lot of hemming and hawing amongst a lot of people. But the thing is today, when you can come out and catch numbers of these fish like that, I tell you one thing, all the resort owners, the local people say this is a big deal, because you have, when you can come out and catch lots of these, you have lots of people that'll come over and do that.
I just got thumped. Here we go, letting the little line go here. We'll see if we can.
Is he still on there?
I think so, yeah. I don't take them instantaneously, but we'll reel down and.
Yeah. Now you got that rascal.
Oh yeah. I love it. I love it. It's not 27 1/4 though. It's 28 1/2. There we go. I just dialed that drag a little bit there, but just, you know, having the right equipment. Listen to that drag squealing. You know, a quality reel, quality rod, you know, the right line. You know, all of it is very important. And you know, you can back reel. You know, some people will flip that little switch and back reel on them. But if you have a quality drag like that right there, you really don't need to. Listen to that thing. Man, I love it. Cow. Oh boy.
I got sinker.
Okay,
oh,
sinker.
there you go. Baba,
Where's that
you
net?
got the right one there.
I got the right one?
Yeah, you got the right one there. That's a whopper. Oh, there you go. Yeah. You notice I'm a good net man.
Yeah, baby.
There you go.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. That's a beauty. Look at that. Oh, big walleye. Oh, that is bread and butter of Minnesota fishing right here on this crown jewel, Lake Mille Lacs, central Minnesota. Man, and you know what? The nicest thing here is that I'm gonna take that hook out, and this baby is going back for one of you to catch right there.
I think the bottom line lesson from this day is pretty clear. While we owe a lot to the original fishing innovators like James, Uncle Al, and Father Ron, thanks to amazing innovations in technology like boats, motors, sonar, and mapping, and to incredible advancements in fish and habitat management, freshwater fishing today is better than it's ever been. And we love it. Continue this adventure by visiting your local Mills Fleet Farm store or shop online at fleetfarm.com for all your sporting good needs and more. fleetfarm.com.